Hello everyone, welcome back. Something unexpected has just happened, and it unfolded far faster than anyone could have imagined. In just a single minute, what seemed like an ordinary update turned into a moment that made people stop scrolling and start questioning everything they thought they understood about popularity and influence. There were no official announcements leading up to it. No promotional campaigns. No dramatic headlines designed to grab attention. What appeared instead were numbers. Quiet numbers. Calm, cold, and impossible to argue with. A wide gap immediately became visible, so striking that it raised one unavoidable question. How did Taehyung end up standing this far ahead of everyone else? And why did this moment feel so closely connected to what had happened just a day earlier? 1 minute may sound insignificant, but that single minute was enough to change everything. What surfaced was not noise. It was not hype. It was not a carefully staged reveal meant to go viral. It was data. A global popularity chart quietly emerged, and suddenly the distance on it became impossible to ignore. Kim Taehyung was not simply leading. He was standing alone, far ahead of the rest. The gap was so large that it no longer looked like a typical ranking. It immediately forced people to ask whether real competition even remained. The numbers told a story that words could not soften. Taehyung sat at the top with a percentage that felt almost unreal, while others followed far behind. This was not a matter of decimals or narrow margins. It was a space so wide that it completely changed how the chart had to be read. This was not the kind of ranking where first and second place trade positions. This was dominance. The kind of dominance that makes people pause and look twice. What made the moment even more striking was its timing. There was no comeback announcement. No album countdown. No variety show circuit. No global tour fueling anticipation. And yet, the result appeared anyway, as if momentum had been quietly building all along. Almost invisible until it suddenly was not. This is where the news from the previous day began to matter. Just a day earlier, conversations across platforms had already started to heat up. A single visual, one brief appearance, one subtle detail connected to Taehyung had triggered massive reactions. There was no official campaign behind it.
No loud statements.
Still, engagement spiked. Searches surged. Fans recognized the pattern once again. The same pattern that has followed Taehyung for years. Silence, followed by impact. This chart did not appear in isolation. It felt like the continuation of something already in motion. A quiet form of influence that does not announce itself, but arrives fully formed. While others rely on constant visibility to maintain relevance, Taehyung's presence seems to linger even when he steps back. That lingering presence is what turns moments into movements. Looking closely at the chart reveals something else. It does not simply compare groups. It compares individuals, different styles, different audiences, different strategies. And yet, Taehyung's name rises above all of it. Not because of volume, but because of gravity. People are drawn in, regardless of timing. Some will debate the methodology. Others will question the sources. That is expected. What is harder to dismiss is repetition. This is not the first time Taehyung has topped global popularity metrics without active promotion. It is a pattern that keeps returning, quietly reinforcing the same conclusion. His appeal operates on a different frequency. There is also another layer hidden within these numbers. The chart reflects more than fandom power. It shows public curiosity, casual viewers, fashion audiences, music listeners who are not waiting for a comeback, yet still react instantly when his name appears. This kind of cross-boundary influence is rare, and it continues to grow. What we are witnessing now feels less like a peak and more like a baseline. This is Taehyung's floor, not his ceiling. That realization makes the moment unsettling for some and exhilarating for others. Because if this is what happens without visible effort, the question becomes unavoidable. What happens when everything aligns? For those watching closely, this chart does not shout. It whispers. And that whisper carries weight. It confirms what has long been felt, observed, and sometimes questioned. The influence was always there. Now it is visible again, captured in numbers that do not argue back. In just 1 minute, The world was reminded once more why Kim Taehyung remains one of the most compelling forces in global pop culture today. There is another aspect of this moment that deserves attention: the reaction that followed. Within minutes of the chart circulating, the tone of discussion quietly shifted. Not toward loud debates, not toward fan wars, but toward disbelief. People were not asking who ranked first. They were asking how wide the gap really was. That reaction alone spoke louder than any headline. What stands out most is how natural this dominance now feels. Years ago, moments like this would have been labeled surprising. Today, they arrive almost expected, yet still shocking in scale. Taehyung's popularity no longer depends on constant reinforcement. It sustains itself, carried by memory, emotion, and an image that remains vivid even in absence. This also explains why every small signal connected to him feels amplified. A brief appearance, a single photograph, a subtle detail noticed by fans. Each one seems to awaken a global response, as if the audience was already waiting. That level of readiness does not come from trends. It comes from attachment. Perhaps that is the most important truth reflected in this chart. It does not measure noise. It measures connection. The kind of connection that does not fade when the spotlight dims. The kind that turns quiet periods into anticipation rather than silence. Taehyung exists in a rare space where absence does not weaken relevance. It strengthens it. As the year moves forward, this moment will likely be referenced again and again. Not as a rivalry story, not as a temporary surge, but as another checkpoint in a long, unfolding narrative. One where Kim Taehyung continues to redefine what individual influence looks like in an industry built on constant motion. While he stands still, he still leads. And in that stillness, something becomes clear. This is no longer about numbers chasing each other. It is about presence. Taehyung does not move with urgency, yet the world adjusts around him. Charts update. Conversations realign. Attention follows. Not because it is demanded, but because it is inevitable. And with that, we leave you here with the numbers, the silence, and the impact that speaks for itself. If this moment made you pause, reflect, or see Taehyung from a new perspective, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. More moments are coming, and you won't want to hear about them late.